You got the agenda, let's call
There we go.
it.
Yes,
They're all-
one more for me and one more for you.
Okay.
That's all.
And we can share that agenda.
So, thank you.
There's lots of agendas.
Okay. No short. Okay. Maybe
Thank you.
it'll be running in. You already-
Anybody need an agenda?
Okay.
Is this what has been taken in Barry since we bought the building? Rental revenue, so this is from Bubble House and
Seems so.
thank you.
So it's reclassifications, I thought I'd let them all sort that out, so.
What time is that? 11 o'clock.
There was a mistake actually that I found.
Okay. What's it on?
So this is a different one than you were sent.
Right.
There was a few changes that were done after that point.
So what can you?
Okay, I'll call this meeting, the special meeting to order. And could we do a roll call for Polowitz?
Sure, Supervisor Hewitt.
Here.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes, here.
Trustee Page. Sure. Trustee McGovern. Here. Trustee Geis.
Yes.
Assessor Trowbridge. Commissioner Young.
Here.
Great, and then could we do a pledge of allegiance, please? Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, we'll do the in-person public comments. Does anybody here have a public comment?
You're talking,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you have a public comment.
No.
Okay, and then, Mr. DeCanto. Or Yosh,
Yes, I'm here. So, did you have a question?
well, we're going to get to the approval of the bills and claims, but, I wasn't sure if you had a public comment or anything, since we're happy to see you as the, chair of the 708 board.
Sure. And thank you, John, for zooming in. And thank you, everyone, for giving me this time. Yosh Yamanaka from the 708 board. And I'm urging that the township approve the contract that we entered in with EMK Consulting for a web portal to accept grant applications online, and EMK Consulting's bid was easily more than 50% off of the two competing bids. I got one bid from Amplifund Grant Management for $20,000 plus, and they could not deliver anything for several months. And I got a second competing bid from UNA, that's EUNA, UNA Solutions, and their bid was also in excess of $20,000, whereas EMK Consulting came in at $9,995. and they have already developed the software. We are presently using it. We've already received 4 grant applications, and so I'm urging that the trustees approve the payment of the $9,995 to EMK Consulting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yosh. And John, would you have a public comment as well? I know you're the treasurer of the 708 board. Nope, okay.
Hi,
Thank-
Diane. I think Yosh covered it pretty well.
Great, and is there anything else that you wanted to say with regards to progress of the grant? I mean, I think I wasn't sure if everybody knew that the grants had been the portal had been opened or anything. Did you want to give any description of what that means or who you've had or anything like that?
I'll jump in here, John. And yes, we've thus far received 4 applications. One of them was from Ray Graham Association. I think most of you are familiar. They provide housing and training and recreation for people with developmental disability. We've also received a application from YWCA, and YWCA provides excellent services. They provide a 52-week home visit for new mothers, and I had obtained a lift ride from a young woman who was a single mother, and she was able to, through the YWCA, was put in touch with a childcare facility which would provide her young daughter with childcare for, I forget, it was less than $100 a week, something that she could afford, whereas she could not afford regular childcare. So we're very thrilled to be able to work with YWCA. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Then, and let me just make sure that there wasn't any other public comments submitted online. So no public comments online. So public comments have been done.
Diane, can I add a public comment? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my microphone.
Sure.
This is John DeCanto, member of the Lisle Township 708 Mental Health Board. I would just like to say that our budget for this year, we've operated quite efficiently, and the amount expended is below our initial expectations. And quite frankly, we've made a ton of progress with very little expended. I believe we're ahead of any other new mental health board in DuPage County. And our future budget for 2024 into 2025 is likewise going to be pretty efficient. And especially with this EMK Consulting providing the portal for our applications, I think we're going to be able to get a lot of money out with very little administration cost.
Wonderful. That's great news. Thank you, John. Okay. Okay, and then we have audit of bills and claims, and this is, or sorry, the accountant's report was really, I think that was actually a residual of the of what normally is in an agenda, but the reason why we're having bills and claims discussed and everyone was sent them was because one of the bills was written to Yosh and it was, it didn't include the right, there's two bills in there. One was for their attorney, Bond and Dixon. And so that's what needed to be amended. It was the Bond and Dixon one, and so I'll pass these around. And the other one was the one that he was talking about, and that was for the grant portal. So it, again, we have a new accountant and they didn't know which one was going to which. So we have all the documentation. I just want to make sure that people have time to look at it. And so that's the two that are going around that is from, again, the attorney, Bond and Dixon. They have their own attorney. And then they have the technology that was purchased for their portal.
You really want us to do this here?
Trustees, do you?
We didn't-
It was,
There's no audit. This is a special meeting.
yes.
So really, all this was supposed to be was for the truck. I look at the, you know,
So I want to back up out of that. We were only discussing the truck issue. And now we've turned this meeting into a larger meeting, on top of which public comment should not have been status of each department. That should be on the agenda. That was probably not the best place for this meeting, since this is a budget meeting. But I would like to see the mental health board representation at our next general meeting, and I'd like to have their report itemized on the agenda moving forward. But we're not, is this the pile of bills that trustee Robinson signed off on today that we didn't discuss?
I didn't sign a single thing.
there is something signed for,
So they had submitted this paperwork, apparently before the normal meeting. And they, when they, had gotten a receipt, they had wanted to get a photocopy of what was going to be sent to them. And when they got that photocopy, they realized that that there was a few pieces missing. And so that's where, at the last meeting, part of it was that there was a check written to Yosh that should have been written to the attorney. And then there was another bill that was
Right.
submitted some time ago, Yosh.
We agreed to discuss that at the next meeting, and that they would have representation at that meeting.
Okay, and again, they had, this is, the next meeting that, they,
This is a
Followed the
budget meeting. I make
previous
a motion
meeting.
To move this item to the next general meeting. Second.
okay, is there any other discussion? And I just want to reiterate that this was a mistake, and so
Out of
again,
order.
at the last, I'm just explaining the situation at the last.
Explanation. We're moving on to the next item. Let's move on.
Actually, I can have an explanation. So at the last meeting, there
Set the
was
timer, because it's gonna take you more than 3 minutes, I'm sure.
so at the last meeting, that was a general meeting, there was and this often happens when there's a mishap in accounting, that we address that so that the vendor who didn't have anything to do with this, who's, been expecting a check for some time, so that they get paid. So we're trying to give you all the information that you can have, and the check has been written. So, again,
Just explain it, but
That's
fine.
the discussion part. Does anybody want to then, do you want to take a roll call vote?
I do have a question. What exactly was the motion to move?
This discussion about any bills attached to the mental health board to the regularly scheduled meeting, it needs to be an agenda item, and they need to have representation.
Okay, so only the mental health
Correct.
bills? Okay.
All the bill, oh, sorry, there was
All the
more?
bills
I didn't know there was
except- Yeah,
more.
there's more there. I don't know.
They should be handled at the regular audit of expenditures at the next monthly meeting. We are not just, we discussed the audit of bills was only to discuss the situation that happened with the truck repair.
So, that's not even a, agenda item that would be discussed, because there is, the only thing that would be done would be a different, check would be
Well,
written
that's
that would
actually-
take off.
That's actually your opinion, but we are going to publicly discuss
So it's not
happened
on
to
the
the-
agenda
It's
because,
part of the audit of bills and claims, because you needed the, because that bill needs to be paid. And the way it was handled was incorrect, and I asked you guys to give me 72 hours to solve it, to look into it, which I did. Then the very next morning, and I said we would discuss it at this meeting, and here we are.
okay, Jim said that. And I haven't been at all dealing with this situation. The township administrator said that there needs to be paperwork from Willowbrook Ford in order to set up an account. And that any
That's not what I
funds,
was gonna discuss, that's fully part of what I was gonna
There
discuss,
is a motion on the table. I don't,
so let's resolve that first.
so do we have a roll call vote?
sure, trustee Geist,
Yes.
trustee McGovern,
Yes.
trustee Page,
Yes.
trustee Robinson,
Yes.
supervisor Hewitt.
No.
Okay.
Okay,
So at the last month meeting, we had an extensive conversation about the process of what a car dealer has with payment with municipalities. And it was said by the supervisor that they would not release the vehicle without a credit card payment. Willowbrook Ford, I talked to the general manager, the service manager, and the service advisor who handled this case. None of them said they would not release the vehicle without a credit card payment. They gave a dollar amount, which was, I think, $100 more than the original quote. And all that needed to happen was for you to either A, get that number to us so we could have a check cut and sign so that the vehicle be picked up, or two, fill out an account report, fill out an account application, which you could have had net 60/90. They work with dozens of municipalities who pay 30, 60, 90 out. So what's going to happen is, yes, we're going to get the paperwork to set up an account so that we can have the repairs done without using your personal credit card. And that we would actually be paying the bill like any other bill, which we've asked for repeatedly month after month. That's one part. The second part is we are going to issue a payment from the township for the actual bill, and your credit card will be reversed. So that's actually what happened. That's what I've explained to trustees that I have had an opportunity to speak with, and that is what I explained to the township administrator. He said that, he had not heard of, a situation like that before where a vehicle wouldn't be released. This is not a small business. This is not a private, this is a municipality. And there was no reason for a credit card to be used. And they said, in fact, they discourage credit card usage because of the associated fees that are usually attached to credit cards being used. So that's where that's at. I took care of it the very next morning. It was a simple phone call that could have been made. It was a check that could have been cut that day. We've cut checks before the same day and called trustees to come and, get approval and sign off on. But instead of following the protocol, the credit card was used again, which is what we've repeatedly asked for not to happen over and over and over and over. And it's quite frankly tiresome. But the fact that as a trustee, I was able to resolve this pretty quickly and get the answers, the correct answers, when that could have very easily been done before using a credit card, is really beside me. But that's the status of that, that item that came up from the audit of bills and claims from last week. Are there any questions?
Were you listening?
yes.
You were doing other things that we could do.
Uh-huh. And again, I was not at all involved with setting up any of those accounts or
No,
discussing
that's not-
anything
That's not
with
what you said last week.
any of
We
the.
can go back to last week's meeting. That's not what you said. You said they would not release the vehicle to you without credit card payment,
That's
which
what
is
they
a
said.
lie, which is
That's
also
not
what,
true.
you can call it an untruth, a fable, a story, or whatever you want to call it, but the bottom line is, it was a lie.
That's
And
not
it's
true.
not okay, because this is a business who was actually very upset, because I said, well, somebody's lying. Is your staff lying?
So
So,
then you have multiple staff members that are saying that.
that are saying what?
That the vehicle would not have been released without a credit card.
Which staff members here said it?
This isn't the time or place to say that.
Because
But
you're not
multiple
telling the
staff
truth.
members have been involved with the emails telling you all what happened from their
Did
perspective.
you pick up the phone as the supervisor and ask for clarity? As the
Yes,
leader.
I
you-
did.
You picked up the phone and called Willowbrook Ford? Who'd you talk to?
That's how I got, that's who paid the credit card is I
Who did
paid
you-
it to
who
them
told
directly.
you?
I didn't ask for a name.
You
But
just,
the person on the phone said that
you just
that's
gave your credit card to someone over the phone? That you didn't even know who you were giving
at
your credit card
Willowbrook
information
Ford.
to?
Yes, I did.
Did they call you?
No, I called them when a staff member told me that another staff member was going there, would not be able to get home if I didn't pay the bill. Because they were going to go pick up the vehicle.
So. I think that's interesting.
I appreciate.
They work with dozens of municipalities who are on net 30, net 60, net 90. They say they never, ever would have instructed you that you had to pay with a credit card.
Okay, and again, I didn't set up the piece. I was simply the one that
You're
was
ultimately
trying
responsible.
to. Yes, I understand. And so when
you use
multiple
your credit card after
employees
you ask you-
set up the whole situation. And when multiple employees were again waiting for them to be, for
Okay.
the piece to be
Anyway, so
released.
we can move along. Thank you. I'm just letting you know that's what happens.
I appreciate your efforts.
Truly.
Are there any
Great.
bills? that
Were
we-
you
Okay,
making a
that's,
motion
trustee
to
Burns.
approve that bill?
So I guess I just need to make, we're gonna approve, I wanna make a motion to approve that bill. But with the understanding that a check will be issued from Lisle Township for the actual bill.
So that was for $2,258.16.
And I'm happy to take that check to Willowbrook Board personally. At that time, then we will have you contacted to give them your credit card information to have that charge reversed.
Great. Okay.
I'll
Is
second that
there a roll
motion.
call?
Se-
So there's a first, and I thought there was a second
You
from,
just made a second.
Trustee Robinson to take
Okay.
a second.
I thought there was one before then, and then any other discussion? Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Geis?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes. Okay, then we're trustee Robinson.
Any other bills we need to talk about tonight? Or are we gonna move on to the budget?
So then if you're approving that one, the accountant wrote a check, then for me, for the remainder of the bills. So that was for $548. And that was for the Concentra and the other supplies, that the pantry, that the food pantry and the township had.
The motion
And-
was to move to the bills to the next meeting minus the truck repair.
Okay,
Is it? Okay. Thank you.
then that's the only other bill aside from the 708.
Pardon me,
portion.
Clerk Collins, were any of those bills signed that we have not approved yet from audit of expenditures from last week?
No, signed off on, no. There was just, approval on some of them.
Thank you.
So one of them last
Well, not
week
that I know of. I
had
guess I
been
should-
signed because.
that was
and
the
they had-
Yosh,
That was
for
the
Yosh.
Yosh one. The bond and Vixen and the EMK are not approved and they're not signed.
And now you need to void those out.
Okay. That's what the accountant will do. I would assume that they would probably just hold them until they were approved at the next meeting and as opposed to voiding them, but I'll just give
No,
it back
no,
to the.
excuse me, I meant you wanted to replace this one that was to Yosh with another one that was payable to the company, so
There were
this will need to
multiple
be.
ones to Yosh, and this was the original one that was approved at the last board meeting. That one for $90.44 was approved at the last board meeting.
That
You
one
had a
signed.
conversation with
That one
Yosh to so that he understands that the protocol that we have all followed, if anybody who's watched our meetings, that we're supposed to receive an invoice, and the invoice is paid to the provider. We're not, our goal is not to have reimbursement checks issued.
And he has been given that instruction
Okay, I
and
appreciate that
he
conversation. Great.
fully, and their
It's on
board
the
has
record
been
that we have-
given options for how to do that in the future.
Thank you. Is there one agreement?
No, we've never had a loan agreement. We had asked the attorney for that, and she said it didn't need to be done.
Okay, and they are well underneath the loan amount that they have. Okay, then we have discussion and action to approve the posting, display, and publication of the tentative amended budget and appropriation. This is not the same one that was sent. There was some changes that were done from a math perspective, and this will go through the accountant and the township administrator. I will show where we are at.
So we first received this at 4:30 tonight. Is this different than the one from 4:30 tonight?
Indeed. So there's been, with the new accountant, there was a number of reclassifications that had to be done.
It
Uh,
was not counted. It was misclassified prior.
So there was some misclassifications prior to now, and it's taken a whole lot of time to to reclassify a number of different pieces in our last fiscal year. So, and we can go through and I can explain how the numbers came about, but the numbers are likely not going to.
paper to look at the numbers.
Yeah.
So
It was
they have a
passed
budget
out.
versus actual to be able to look at that either.
So,
Has the finance committee been consulted on this?
yes, actually,
I'm sorry.
yesterday briefly. But the budget to actual is going to be, you'll see exactly where we are, and there's quite a few changes in the budget to actual. Because of the need to reclassify a variety of different pieces. Trustee Robinson,
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So I was waiting for reclassifications. My understanding is those were done yesterday morning. So I had a brief meeting with supervisor and interim township administrator, said, could we go through line by line and understand what the changes are? And then I guess there's been some other changes or classifications since then. So the document I saw at 4:30 was the first time I'm seeing the document, and this is a Verizon. But let's remember where we're at from a process point of view, and I'm not minimizing the fact we're only looking at this now. We have to approve a revised budget for the current fiscal year. We do have, and we have to set a date for that. It has to happen before the end of March 31st. We have to have a meeting or approve something now 30 days before that, is my understanding,
Why does it have to happen before March 31st?
for the current fiscal year.
This is the end of the book.
yes,
Well, it's the end of the fiscal.
It's not a fiscal year, so what?
we've been told legally that we have to do
Who
it.
told you that? Lawyer tied up?
She said
The
we-
accountant and the attorney have both said that
So
we need
You-
to
you-
do it before the end of the fiscal year. And this is the first draft of it. I'm sure there's gonna be other drafts of it.
When you say legally, can you please cite the names of the people who gave you that counsel for
I'm
the record?
sure, if you wanna ask Ross, if you wanna ask,
No, I
the
don't wanna,
accountant.
nope, I don't wanna ask them. I wanna know who told you that it hadn't happened by that date. I want you to name those who gave you that legal counsel. Like
Our attorney gave us the counsel that we
our
have
attorney
to,
Ross Seckler gave you
Yes.
that advice that it had to be done by March 31st. For the record, make sure please that's in the agenda. And did our accountant company as well give you that legal counsel?
they did say that we need to get
Who
this
they-
done
which-
with.
Which member of the accountant team?
Kelly and Jacob said that we needed to get
On the
moving on
record.
this for a variety of different reasons, partially because some of the pieces that we're
Get
dealing
moving
with.
on this by March 31st. I want you to be very specific so that when we refer to this, we don't have any misinterpretation. So they
And
gave you that
trustee
advice.
Robinson is going to be out of town for a significant portion of
Please answer the
March.
question.
So yes, both of our professional staff with regards to accounting said that we
Okay,
needed to
thank
get
you.
this done.
Thank you.
So we can, again, make sure that we are compliant with, getting this done. And perhaps there's a number of pieces that we're trying to get in the, put in different years.
Sure.
Meaning that the audit is close to being done, and some of these pieces are actually, being pushed to the, previous year.
Would you find it prudent that when we're gonna be discussing budgets and amended budgets and any advice that we would at least at minimum have the accountant available even by Zoom to answer any questions we may have?
I can ask that they be at the next meeting.
I'm just, It's a budget meeting, so.
I know that really we are just approving this to move forward to the public hearing.
Yeah.
However, this is now like a waste of our time because we get this at 4:30. No, and it's been changed since then. There's no backup to it. We could have been productive here and given a little direction for what we want and what we don't want, and for the backup, because I had questions on the existing one for just a minute that I looked through it. If we had some time, we could have really worked through this and made this meeting a productive meeting. But now we're either going to have another meeting to discuss this, or we're gonna have to email. And it's going, because you didn't get this done till today, even though they asked you to get it done way prior than today. So it could been, the misclassifications could have been fixed. We sit here with, oh, we have to pass something that we don't even know, or pass to move forward that we don't even know what we're saying.
So there's a whole lot of information that you all are going to need to have, which if you all let me
We
speak,
could
I
have had
can.
it before now.
You really couldn't have had it because I was, and the accountants were extremely busy trying to unravel some of the some of the accounting and the misclassification errors. So again, if you would give me a moment to talk about this, that would be extremely helpful. So if we're going through this amended version, the interest on payments was significantly different than what we had thought it was. So when you look at the, let me make sure I'm in the right place. The interest on investments, we had not previously gotten it. And so we had in the past had nothing in there for the CD that we have. We realized that it's about $5,000 that we had earned on that. The interest in the town fund was about 60,000 more than we had thought, so it would be amended to 200,000. The personal property tax we hadn't put in previous budgets, it's 130,000 more. The rental revenue, obviously the taxes didn't change. The rental revenue is about 25,700, and that's just for Bubble House. Steinmart, Sandmart did sign a 3-year lease, renewed their 3-year lease. So they tend to, I've been told, pay annually, so that's going to be added into the next year's budget. It's not coming on the monthly. From refunds and recoveries, we had about $45,000 less than what we had expected. The passport fee was the same. One of the things that has been separated out is what we get from waste stickers as opposed to just passports and transportation. There wouldn't be a change in transportation. There was about $501,000 less in grants. We did not get a $500,000 grant from ARPA, for example, that we had originally thought we may have. But we did get quite a bit of grant from ARPA.
The only reason we're altering the budget is to not go over on the expense side.
So
I
we're.
don't think the income has anything to do.
Okay, so it made a rather significant chunk in difference, and what our accountant said was that she felt like we should change some of our income side to true the budget up. Okay, and then if we're going down the line, capital improvements, it ended up where our current where we are currently with capital improvements is about $330,000 less than what we had budgeted for. So in the end, we only needed to budget $1,800,000 for capital improvements. The food pantry facilities and equipment, we had budgeted $250,000. It's about $137,000 less than what we had originally anticipated. The contingency is, we really just took off a little bit of the contingency because that wasn't as necessary as we thought. If we're going down,
What drove that? Like, what makes you look and go, well, just drop the contingency dollar amount? What's behind that?
behind that is when you look at the actual year to date and where we are. So the actual year to date with the contingency is that we haven't put
Who came up with that dollar amount?
we haven't put anything in contingency.
Who came up with the dollar amount less, the difference? Who decided that number? Like, it just seems so arbitrary, like, who said, you know what, we're gonna need $1,200 less? And ultimately, where is this? It's gonna be interesting to see who at least two, but I already have an idea. But who decided? that?
Okay, let me,
No.
trustee guys, let me just go through the numbers and then we can, I mean, again, this is a first draft. If you want to keep the contingency just as it is, that's fine. I'm sure there's going to be lots of meetings on the budget on this amendment. Okay, I saw that the assessor, gave me a document that had a $2,000 difference in computing. And so that was added in for that amendment. I can show you what you gave me, and compared to that, I got that yesterday. The administrative contractual services and this number in particular was, most of these numbers were brought up with Lauterbach and Annen. So, when they looked at how much, the township administrator, how much accounting, they estimated to add in another 50,000 in administrative. We don't have any more costs associated with assessor rent. For printing and publishing, there's a newsletter, segment at the bottom here. So it was actually a line item that we hadn't used in the past. So for printing and publishing, right now, we're less than 3,000, so 5,000 would be a better number for that. So we took off 40,000.
Where, I'm sorry, where's,
What?
there's a
I'm-
newsletter line? I don't see that.
It was. Oh, that needs to definitely be added.
So,
Um,
so we have 5,000, because the 20,000 was this year, right? That was in September?
right now, for the printing and publishing year to date, we are at.
And that's what I'm talking about. So, like, you said that there was a line item for newsletter, but there's not.
So it's 10,3,003, and it needs to make sure that we add it in. That newsletter cost 20,500,
That
and
should be here.
yes,
So why wouldn't you put that in printing and publishing?
because that it helps to delineate what is being printed and published. So
Okay.
right now, year to date, we are at 3,703.84.
Okay, so I guess in
That
general.
definitely
'cause
needs
we're
to
not
be
we're not
added.
gonna Go through everything, but in general, we thought that there was gonna be 45,000. And now you're putting 5,000, what did we pay for the 3,800 basically? In general, what's the printing and publishing then now?
So we had set aside the amount of money that we thought we could do 2 newsletters. That's what how we came up with that budget item originally.
I understand that, so what did we spend $3,800 on?
We did not. So
I'm gonna make a
again,
motion.
the
I'm gonna make a
printing and-
Motion to approve agenda items 8, 9, and 10.
I'll second.
okay, and any other discussion? In a roll call vote?
Trustee Guys?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes.
Moving to item number 11.
So I'm the supervisor and I'll make sure that we, move along. So item number 11 is approve the schedule to a public hearing on the budget and appropriation ordinance for Lisle Township. And originally we thought March 25th, Monday at 6:30 was a good day. Is that still a good day in time?
I'm out of time.
Spring break, right? Yeah.
Lots of families are out of town. I mentioned this a lot, but.
I thought we talked about that.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, we came up with a different day. I thought we came up with, when we talked about it, because I think I made a note of it.
So it has to be 30 days after today. The earliest it could be would be March 23rd, which is a Saturday.
We s-
And
That's
we,
basically for two or three. Five.
and trustee Robinson is out of the country after the 26th, 7th. So the 25th and the 26th is the last time that we could have trustee Robinson here in
well,
country.
Trustee Robinson's presence is important, as is a quorum with your other trustees.
Mhm.
So trustee McGovern is having a challenge with that date, as is trustee Geist. We can't build a meeting around one person's schedule. No offense, trustee Robinson.
Yeah,
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I'm out of the country for, the 23rd until April 1st.
That's what it is. So, yeah, right. I guess we need clarification or get confirmation if this has to be done before the end of the year. Fiscal month.
I can call the attorney.
Let's do that. That's important. Right, if we have to do it before March 31st, I mean, you're at that whole week.
Yeah. As many families are.
I understand. Yeah.
And you can participate
No, you
remotely, you just
You
can't.
Well, that's
He's
not
on
fair.
vacation.
Yeah.
Okay,
Besides the fact that it's a public hearing.
Can it be
so
earlier?
People
I
are.
think that's what we talked about last time. and
It
I-
can't
in my
be-
notes.
so today is the February 22nd. It can't be before the 23rd.
Well, I have to publish it, so we're not gonna publish it. So it have to be, no, they want 2 days. So it might have to be the 20.
Would be the earliest.
Is there any way to confer with Attorney Seckler and just confirm?
She's called.
this?
She's called.
I'll call Jacob or Kelly too. Do you want to
Do
take,
they know township law though?
Second Street.
yeah,
They do?
likely on a budget?
You could do it. I don't have to.
When are you moving to?
The 26th.
We can have a finance meeting.
We will definitely have a finance meeting
Yeah.
before, because we have to do next year's budget too.
So you're out the last week. I was last weekend, you're out this.
Middle.
Do we have a quorum on the 20th? Who's out on it? So you're out on the 25th?
Yes.
Trustee guys, are you out on the 25th? That's the Monday.
Well, I don't know if I'm coming back that day. I'm leaving the 16th. But
Because if we could get it done if we have a quorum on the 25th, right?
Your attorney said the highway commissioners. Oh, okay, end of the fiscal.
Before that. Okay, so it has to, we have to.
I'm sure she didn't say that.
Yes, she did.
Oh, okay,
That's the way she talks to me. Can
okay.
you believe that?
I will put that in the minutes.
so we're looking at the 25th,
I think it has to be.
but you're here the 25th.
I'm not,
You're here the 25th.
And I am here.
so we have. four.
So we have a quorum.
I think we got the, Highway Commissioner Young went and asked, Carrie Lynn, because we needed to know if we absolutely had to have this 24-25 budget complete by March 31st. The challenge we're running into, Attorney Seckler, is people being out of town for spring. We don't have to.
Sorry, she said 24-25.
Oh,
So are we talking about 23, 24?
You know what? Hang on. I'm gonna put you on speaker so that I don't misquote you. Hang on one second.
Ross, to be clear, are we talking about 23, 24, the amended one?
Is it is it a legal issue of getting 23, 24, or can we have it, can we do it later in March when everyone's in town?
April.
Right, so it's a practical move versus a legal move. Is that what you're saying?
The only reason I'm not saying it's strictly legal is because the statute is not, there's nothing that explicitly says you cannot pass it after. It's more, if you like, think about it, it's just not supposed to. Type of thing. You know, it's a gray area, so I can't really give a definitive answer. There's nothing I can point to in the statute or any case that says one way or the other saying this is invalid or valid. This is probably something that just never doesn't come up. So I can't tell you if it's totally 100% okay. For some practical terms, in thinking about it, it's probably not okay to do after, but at the same time, there's also something that explicitly said.
Go ahead.
I was,
Trustee Robinson.
thank you. We're gonna reach agreement. Before, I wanna be, you're gonna be part of that process. This should be a 5-minute meeting, public visibility, says we are approving this for next year. I'm not minimizing your participation.
No, that's how I feel too, that we're gonna have all preparations in order and in agreement, so
Are you
Okay.
I'm
comfortable?
not offended if you.
Thank you, Attorney Steckler. We appreciate your time.
25th.
Call if you need anything else.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, Trustee
And
Robinson.
the now and but is, when do we want to do this? When do we want to get funding?
Minus-
And do we want to do just this, or do we want to do next fiscal year as well? As part of that, do you want to have both covered in the same meeting?
Probably. I just think it was important on the record to note the discrepancy information.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Appreciate that clarification.
What time on the 25th are you going to have the meeting?
I think 6:30. Thank you. Is what we talked.
Okay, on Mondays is when the accountant is here. And so would you like to set up a time when you can have input from and discussion from the accountant?
Well, we had this, I had this on the calendar for 6:30, Monday, the 25th from the last meeting. So I had already had it on the calendar, so I think that was already the expectation, so.
Yes, so what I heard is for our finance meeting, should probably plan for a Monday because the account can be part of that. Was that
Yes.
okay?
Well, that's why we did it. That's my point. That's why we scheduled it for Monday, the 25th. I have it already on here.
Okay,
I thought we-
Okay.
Do we feel do we want to do it next Monday, or do we want to let this sit and have more, if there's more, there are revisions, because it's Thursday already.
I guess what I'm struggling with, Trustee Robinson, is where did we come up with the ideas? What was driving these drops? And what is the end goal? What happens with this difference in funds? Where is that going to be allocated? I guess it's, I want to just put that on the table because is that being carried over into 24, 25? Are we reducing 24, 25 as well? And then what does that look like? You don't know, but.
No, sorry, I was gonna say those are all the right questions to ask.
But these differences to me are interesting because how do we determine? So I guess we probably do need to have another conversation, but,
Thank you. So I don't want to cut you off. If you finish your thought. I mean, we talked about, 4 significant budget lines. Salary, with, legal expenses, administrative expenses, and PACE is actually open. Part of the explanation I was given is that we had 6 months of prior fiscal year PACE charges in the current fiscal year. And I think that's where the discussion with the auditors are, we might be able to move that back in the previous year, I don't know.
Yes,
Okay.
that's one of the pieces that Sikich is gonna let us know if they would do that, because we're being charged for 6 or 17 months in a 12-month span, because PACE was 6 months in the rears in this last fiscal year. So they've caught up with their billing. But that means that we're then paying 17 months, and they believe, Lauterbach and Amen believe that they could perhaps move it to the next year. So if that does happen, then the transportation, meaning,
So you mean
Move
previous,
back.
previous year,
Last.
It's just built late.
and
Wait,
there's
but we're-
also, we did accept in 2022 December, we got a grant for food. That was another line item that, we needed to finish this year. We got 37,500 for food, and we ended up paying for it this year. So we needed to have a line item in particular that allowed us to pay for that.
So where does the income show up? Is it on last year's?
So it came in December 2022. It was in the 2023 year.
So if we look at the 22-23 budget, it will be as a grant,
It was a grant that came in December of 2022.
Did it come to us or did it come to the friends?
It came to us.
I know.
So, Highway Commissioner Young,
Your books are maintained on a stamp basis.
Yes.
You see cash? Pay the cash, you put it down. You can't move 6 months of expense because they should have been billed last year. That's called accrual.
Yeah.
And you're not. You're on cash.
I guess which begs the other question, if you're talking about taking 6 months of this and moving it into the prior year, what's the urgency of getting this year
Right.
time?
Right.
so, again, this is, advice that we're trying to sort through with the auditors and with our accountant, and making sure that we're doing this properly. So,
I don't know if that's good advice, because you said that they both gave you advice that we had to have this done legally. You said that on the record, just wanted to remind everyone, and yet when we spoke to our attorney, it's a practical move, but it wasn't legal.
he also said that, and if everybody was here, that it was
Well,
it could be a problem if we do it in the next fiscal year. He didn't say that it was, he said that it was in the gray zone, is what he said.
See, this is where we have to be super careful, and when we're telling the full truth, we have to make sure we're not adding words, because that changes the message. And he never said that. He never said it was a problem. But he also didn't say that it was illegal. You had said that both the accountant and the attorney had told you that it was a legal problem that we just spoke to. So I guess.
And he said that again, did everybody hear that it was in the gray zone?
But that's not the
Legally.
same thing as that's not the same thing as illegal.
I'm not saying that it was illegal. I said it is a legal issue that is in the gray zone, and I would prefer to be in the green zone in a legal issue.
Really what happened, but I can see how I can see what you're saying, yes, but that's.
I just want to make sure we're doing this right.
Oh, I just wanted to pick a date
Okay,
because we have some things to sort out because
For
it's
the
Thursday,
finance.
right,
Monday, March 3rd. Can we do that?
well, and so,
So I
Yeah,
see
yeah.
March 4th.
4th, sure.
right, the other thing I want to mention is part of what's going to factor into next year's budget planning is the staffing. Right, like, I think, I heard that we had some issues in food pantry because,
Jordan was out.
right, so we need to talk about,
When you help with the food.
I think for sure. So I would almost say, I would recommend that you have a personnel committee meetings, talk about staff requirements. I think, the interim supervisor's been here, or interim township administrator has been here long enough. He's got some thoughts.
Yes.
I think you want to factor that into your staffing plan, because, what we can do with the current year budget we're gonna finalize the third year budget. The real reason doing that is that none of our expense lines are higher than our budget.
So did you, I'm sorry, because I missed this part. So Jordan was out, so we didn't have food pantry services?
No,
They
we
were
had,
We have-
Impact, they were
I thought we
impacted.
had Over 8 volunteers when I asked. how
we
many
definitely had a
volunteers.
whole lot of volunteers.
Okay.
And so I was definitely filling in. There
Wow.
wasn't any, it's a lot harder when I'm doing a variety of things. We had
Well,
a
yes, because this is.
freezer that is out.
Yes.
So one of our freezers is no longer. There was, again, we had a client that had a significant issue. But that would have happened whether Jordan was here or not.
Right, and we have, I thought, when I asked how many volunteers, I thought we only had a couple of volunteers. We have you said we have plenty of volunteers.
We
So-
definitely had plenty of
so-
volunteers that
So
day.
his absence was impacting the pantry services how? I just want to understand.
I don't have the details. I would encourage you to talk to,
No, I was asking Supervisor Hewitt. I didn't expect you to have that answer. How was it
Maybe.
impacted?
So I needed to fill in the food pantry dealing with clients. I needed to fill in dealing with technology. Making sure that the volunteers had a login to check people in. Usually it's Jordan that manages the intake. We have, like I said, a whole lot of volunteers. We were fully volunteer staffed.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to understand. We were able to feed people.
Oh,
So-
yes.
Okay, so we were good.
We did a really good number of people. We fed a lot of people yesterday.
Good.
Trustee Robinson.
I think there was one administrative issue that volunteers probably wouldn't have been trained how to deal with. I think the interim township administrator was involved and then the supervisor also.
And
It's
that's
just-
what should happen in a township of this size. Other staff members, if that's called being on a team, you're not going above and beyond, you're being part of a team. If you've never been part of a team, I can understand why that would be challenging to understand, but you are part of a team and where you fall short, someone else picks up. That's called working together. It's called collaborating. It's called teamwork. And so I'm so excited to see that everybody stepped up in it. That's great.
Right, well, and I think
It
that's
worked
part.
the way it's supposed to work.
Right, well, I think that's part of what the administrators sorting out is what are the cross-training requirements, opportunities, is there gaps? So I would like him to provide his input to our shared personnel committee. That's gonna define what we want. What we
Absolutely.
think we need from staffing, which will then impact on a potential budget line. So I would suggest, and I think there's some other things you wanted to cover on
Yeah.
personnel committee too.
Well, it sounds like we still have never had a food pantry meeting, so it sounds like that's well.
So March 4th, is that a time that if you were to schedule a meeting March 4th during the day, the accountant would be here or could be here to have input?
Is that for finance?
That's for the finance, yes.
So I had asked in email
So
format.
trustee Geist.
I had asked in email format on those days if we could make the exception of maybe he starts later that day so he can extend his day to be here in those few times that happens versus expecting us to make ourselves available in the middle of the workday to have that conversation.
Okay, so we can, I'm sure that can happen. So would 6:30, 6 o'clock work on the 4th?
Yes,
It will for me.
perfect. That's for finance committee. correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
would
I'll-
even tack on a personnel committee meeting to that same day if we could. Mine wouldn't take long.
Sure.
Well, we
Okay.
need to have a conversation about we still have
Trustee
not
Geist.
amended the PTO.
Yeah,
That whole
right,
situation,
Right.
and that's
Oh, maybe that's longer,
dramatically
yeah, yeah.
impacting
Yeah.
people. Sadly,
Okay.
that we're spending so much
Good
time on
point,
that.
thank you.
Okay, did you want to do the personnel before or after the finance?
Before.
So 5:30 or 5 or?
Can we do we need the finance first so that the accountant can go, don't you think? Or no,
But the personnel affects the finance.
I can, okay, but I
It
can,
came first, chicken or the
Yeah.
egg, budget or the.
I,
so 5:30 for personnel?
Trustee
well,
Robinson.
I'm sorry, I would suggest you do it maybe the week before and you do it during. to the
Yeah.
extent you can when Jim's available.
Right,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
he's
during the
good.
day, so if,
He's gonna have an important input into that.
Personnel.
that would be the 26th. Alright, so we are at.
The 22nd. So the
What do you guys with
26th.
Availability next week. Is there anybody around during the day?
only
know.
Monday.
I just think I don't even think it's fair to ask that because there's no meeting that happens fast enough. And so if, if we knew that it was only half hour and we could do it over a lunch hour, that would be one thing,
What
but
about like 8 o'clock in the morning on a Monday? I know. The staff would be here, Jim would be here.
how about lunchtime on Monday? Cause then, are you available at lunchtime on Monday? Okay, so let's do that, cause Mondays are good.
On this coming Monday.
Monday, the
26th.
26th?
Monday, the
say noon.
26th,
Yep, we
at
can do that.
noon.
Sure.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You wanna?
Okay, and then,
Do you wanna have a vote for, the budget public hearing?
yes, so, to be clear, on March 25th at 6:30, would somebody want to make a motion to have a meeting to finish the 23-24 amended budget? And would you then be doing just the amendment, or would we be doing the fiscal year? 24-25?
Well, same days.
Yes,
I thought we were, I thought we, I thought.
Yeah, no, I think you already did.
Yeah,
You approved 8, 9, and 10. Approval to schedule a public hearing on the amended budget, so that's already been approved, right?
the 11 is where we're talking about the approval of the,
11 would be just for the 24-25. That motion would be just for the 24-25 budget.
All right, well, I'll make a motion that we have the public hearing on the fiscal year 24-25 budget on March 25th. Do they have to be separate meetings?
no, they don't.
They don't, fine, as part of the 6:30 meeting for the current fiscal year.
Okay, and then is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, trustee McGovern. Any other discussion? And a roll call vote?
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee Dice?
Yes.
Supervisor Theory?
Yes. Would somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I thought that's whether the road district budget process parallel the townships. Trustee said yes, I thought that was enough to get it on the agenda. So the timing I think works best is at the March meeting. We'll have the budget on the agenda. We can send a public meeting. They can't do it at the regular scheduled meeting in April because it's within 30 days. So postpone it to a public meeting right before the meeting. That's okay. That way you don't have to special meeting. You have to come at the May meeting in 2 weeks. Okay?
That's great. Thank you.
Commissioner Young.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
You got a
And
motion from trustee Geis, I'll second.
Thank you, trustee guys. Thank you, trustee Page, and then all in favor.
Aye.
Have a good night.
Here,
Where are the